Welcome to After Hours. My name is Rictor. I am your host.
Rictor!
What?
Leave him alone!
This shit is real.
Now we got Rictor going. We're going to have to hear about it all night.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of screaming memes out there, and that's the scoop that has been reported so far.
Thanks for dropping me like a stud.
I'm not interested in believing in something. Either it's real or it's not.
By your opinion that you are no-kill, you are dooming the species to be extinct.
They are what they are. It doesn't matter what we call them. Let's remove ourselves from them a little bit. And I think that's something that the Bigfoot community can actually learn a little bit from.
I actually am trying to push the envelope of science here.
When are we going to make a video, Rictor? And I mean not an X-rated one.
Dr. Todd, you've also been called the scoff dick.
Yeah, well,
have these creatures stood against a backdrop of trees, I probably never would have seen them.
You can't talk about
I can!
So you guys are going to bag a Bigfoot and get us a body.
We're giving it our best efforts.
we thought that we had the holy grail of DNA.
Our hero, Bob Gimlin's with us.
Hello, is this thing on? Am I muted? Can you hear me?
Hey, Rictor, I've got a question for you. How does it feel to lose Bigfoot Bounty?
My question is, why do you think Bigfoot is real?
Rictor does put a lot of effort into his costuming, doesn't he?
Yeah, well,
I mean,
by effort, if you mean bending over and picking up whatever's on the floor.
My.
Well, in my opinion, After Hours with Rictor is the #1 Bigfoot webcast.
What's your name again?
Don't piss Rictor off.
Hi, welcome to After Hours. My name is Rictor. I am your host. Joining me is Sweet Sassy
.com.
And today we have a very special guest, Bob Strain. Now, he's been researching Bigfoot for over 13 years.
Yep, that's right.
And he's also been conducting 4 years of serious research at a location, a secret location called Area X in the Wichita Mountains.
That's right. In the Washita Mountains in Oklahoma.
Washita?
Yes.
Damn it.
Washita.
I can never say things right.
Washita.
Also
Washita?
pronounced Owachita, Washita, Washita, or those things over there.
Now, this location, Area X, is private property,
That's correct.
and you have a team.
Yes, we do. We have a group that we go in there with, and we go in teams of 5 or 6 at a time. We do a 3 to 4 month continuous study, and we have a presence in there at all times, and we usually go in and do shift change on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, whatever we've worked out, but we try to maintain a team in there at all times during the summer.
Now, you're going to be returning to this location in September for 2 weeks.
That's right, that's right.
And let's give our viewers a brief update on why do you think Bigfoot is there in the Washita Mountains? That's it.
Washitas.
I'm sorry, guys, I can't say it.
Washitas. Say it. Washita.
Washita Mountains.
That's correct.
I did it.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
All right, so why Washita when you live like 2 hours from the Sierras in California?
Well, that's a good question. We know that they are in the Washitas. Of course, they're in the Sierras, they're in the Olympics, they're in the Cascades. But we have a unique opportunity of having a private property in an area that is vastly rich in resources for the wood apes, and they're there. And so that's where actually it started out the TBRC, and they changed their name to the NAWAC, the North American Wood Ape Conservancy.
And there's a website. I'll put the link right here. Wow.
Woodape.org. And they've been conducting research there for nearly 15 years, but before that it was basically Alton Higgins, and he was connected with some other groups, and then independently, and then he became a member of the NAWAC. Well, at the time it was the TBRC, the Texas Bigfoot Research Conservancy, and they started doing what they called forest vigil, and placing camera traps there for many years. And during that time is when they started having their first interactions, or I should say experiences of wood knocking and rock throwing, that led them to believe that that their target species, the wood ape, was in fact there. They had other areas that they conducted research in, the Sam Houston National Forest and the Big Thicket, and those were areas Y and Z. And due to a lot of different factors, they had to abandon those, and they just have primarily focused in Area X.
Yeah, switch over.
Bob, typically in our interviews, I ask the question, why do you think Bigfoot is real? It's obvious you do think Bigfoot is real because you're actually hunting Bigfoot, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We are.
Okay, so you guys are going to bag a Bigfoot and get us a body.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be so presumptive to say that we're the ones that are going to be to do it. We, of course, we're giving it our best efforts. And I'm sure that there are other groups or individuals around the country that are trying to accomplish the same goal, and I wish them all the luck in the world, and I hope they accomplish that. And it really doesn't matter who does it, just so long as a specimen is obtained for science, and that's the main factor. We want to conserve the habitat for these creatures and conserve the species. So.
Okay, so you get a Bigfoot, you kill one, you shoot one, you injure one, however you get it. You are planning on shooting one, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's.
So this is a totally pro-kill group, and for the purposes of research, what are you going to do? You shoot one, you've got the body laying there. What is the plan when you have the body?
Well, to say that we're totally a pro-kill group is first of all, I don't really like that term pro-kill, because we're actually pro-science, and that science demands a type specimen. Okay, so if we could do it any other way than killing one, we would be the first to try to do that. And in fact, we've tried to do it for years. But science demands at this point a type specimen, and so unfortunately that's what has got to happen, is we have to obtain a specimen. And of course, the easiest way, logistically, and safest way and most humane way for everything and everybody involved is to actually unfortunately kill one, and to present it to science. And we have protocols in place that will accomplish that goal. And I can't really talk about what but you can use your imagination. How do you get a body to science? As well, you get a body to science, and that's what we plan to do. Yeah.
Now, a year and a half ago, Kathy Strain, Bob's wife, was our co-host and guest on After Hours, and she had a visual Class A sighting of two Sasquatch. Bob was there as well. So, Bob, would you mind telling us and our viewers what went down?
Well, it was about our third night there in Area X, our first visit there, and we had some activity as darkness started coming on late in the afternoon, early evening, and we had experienced some rock throws both at the cabin that we were at and the adjacent cabins. And there would be a rock throw at one cabin, and we would all run over to that cabin, and then there would be another rock throw way back at the opposite end at the other cabin, and we would all shuffle back over there, and kind of leading us on the wild goose chase back and forth. Now, we did have a visual up on the hillside of a gray creature during that time, and so Kathy decided that she would stay in the middle of the two cabins and stay at our base cabin. And there was another rock throw down at the east cabin, and the guys, there were 5 of us there, so the 4 men went down there, and she stayed behind. And then there was a rock throw down at the west cabin, and we all came back past there, and we were going to proceed to see if we could find out what made that noise, that sound down there. And Kathy stopped me and said, well, why don't you hang out here for just a second and let the other guys go down there? And she told me, while you guys were down there, I'm looking down towards the trail, the direction that you guys were, and I see a limb that was, it bounced back up sharply, like something had pulled it down and then released it. And it was in some thick brush right over there. And she said, why don't you go over there and take a look and see if something's in there, and I'll stay right here and I'll tell you exactly where it was. And I walked over to the spot, and it was about 50 yards away or so. And I looked through the brush, and behind it, the hillside went steeply upward. And I could see, as I parted the brush, I could see the hillside back there. And of course, I'm looking for an upright creature that looks like Patty. This is what we all expect to be looking for when we're looking for a Bigfoot. And I didn't see anything. Now, they could have made an exit by going directly away from her, and she wouldn't have been able to see them. And then I thought, well, I said, honey, there's nothing over here. And she says, well, take a good look. I'm pretty sure that they're still over there. And so, again, I parted the brush and I looked through, and there was a big dead tree that had fallen across this little bit of a gully, a little bit of a ditch, and it was sticking out into the trail. And I had to go around the end of that to get to where I was. And I thought, well, I can see the other side. Now I can walk all the way around, or I can actually see out the other side, and I didn't see anything. I thought, well, I can get there by hopping up on this log and crossing it Daniel Boone style. And there was a bunch of thorny vines growing over it, and I thought, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to step. And I look down in the gully, and I see a couple of other logs down in the gully laying right next to it, one perpendicular and one parallel. And I thought, well, I can put my foot here, and I can step on that log, and I can step on that log, and then I get to the other side. I thought, well, it's my second day here. I really don't want to fall and injure myself. And I was convinced that there wasn't anything over there, so I pulled back out, and I'm about 5 or 6 feet away from this little gully and these fallen logs down there. And I came back and I said, honey, there's nothing really down there. And so she didn't come check it out, which she usually does, as we try to double confirm everything that we see or
cross-check
findings. Yes, exactly. Well, we came back, and the guys came back, and we sat down next to the campfire ring. Well, there was no fire yet. The shadows were starting to get long, and we sat there and we talked and we interviewed. We try and document everything, videotape everything to try and document everything. And one of the members, Ken Stewart, was interviewing Kathy about short 5-10 minute interview, and just got done with that. And Kathy is facing down that direction. We heard some crunching in the leaves, and it sounded like footsteps. Now, there had been a fox around the camp area. Mm-hmm. We thought maybe this is the fox, and we turned to look and see what it was, and there are 2 Bigfoot walking not exactly right at us, but alongside. They looked like they were gonna try to end up behind a shed that we were very close to. So they were coming in our direction, and Kathy saw them first. She jumped up, ran right at them, and so, oh my God, there they are. And then we saw them, and there were 2 creatures. And then when she was running at them, the creature that was in the front turned around and ran back towards the other one, and they kind of bounced into each other, and they hesitated and kind of danced around there for a second. And Kathy's getting closer the whole time, and we're all running in that direction. And then they just went up this hillside, about a 30 to 50 degree slope, and very rocky, covered with vines, just gnarly steep embankment, and just gone like they were shot up on a rubber band or a bungee cord or pulled up on a cable. It was amazing how fast and agile they were, and it was breathtaking. It was actually it made my jaw drop when we saw that.
Was that the first time you'd ever seen a Sasquatch?
No, actually, I saw a Sasquatch in 1975 when I was deer hunting with my dad in Idaho, and I watched one through my rifle scope across a hillside at about 300 yards. I thought it was a bear, and it came out, and it was on all fours, and it was on a very steep slope. And as it crawled up the hillside, I was waiting for it to get right to the top where it was level, and I was going to shoot it up there so it didn't go all the way down to the bottom, and it'd be very difficult to retrieve. as soon as and I watched it for a good 2-3 minutes during that time, it got to the top and it popped up on 2 legs. I thought, man, that's not a bear, that's a person. And it was covered in black, wasn't carrying a gun. I could see its hands. I could see it wasn't wearing, any change in color and clothes, not wearing a backpack. It was very cold and kind of stormy, misty. And I watched it walk away, a good 150 yards or so, and what's been described as a cross-country skier type, stride fashion. And I didn't know what it was. I mean, this was 1975. I just graduated high school that year. I was from Texas. I didn't really know anything about Bigfoot. And then later, about 10 minutes later, my dad, who was over on the backside of that hill, came out, emerged around that hillside, wearing an orange vest. And he was so tiny. At first, I thought it was like a butterfly or something. And I'm looking, and he is only about half the size of this other figure that I saw over on that, and it kind of made my mind kind of do a double take and confused us, and we really didn't know what to think. And it's something that kind of laid in the back of my mind for years and years and years. And it wasn't until 2002 when I encountered the Bigfoot forums. Computers, I finally learned how to use a computer, and I found the Bigfoot forums, and then that's when I came to the realization that what I had seen. So, these things looked exactly like what I had seen, only not quite as tall. So, yeah, I'd seen one. I had other experiences too, but no real daytime visuals.
So you've had 2 sightings.
Well, yeah, after those 2 ran up the hill, then a couple of days later I saw a brown one, or what I describe as cinnamon color, up on the hillside too, walk through an opening in the trees, and you could see the sun glisten off its fur as it went behind. It looked like a Irish setter type thing, but I saw from the waist up, the head and the shoulders appear and go through this opening. So.
Okay, I got a 2-part question. Sure. When Kathy ran at the 2 Sasquatches in Oklahoma, what was the distance of the closest that you got to them, and how did they compare to Patty in the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Well, I'd say the closest, we measured it off from where we were sitting to where they were at their furthest point. From the furthest distance we were apart was 50 yards. We measured that out. And she ran probably a good third of the way, maybe half of the way. I don't know. She stood up and she just took off running before she really said anything, and it took us a second to figure it out. So she may have got as close as like 30 yards or so. So she definitely had the best view of them. Now, how they compared to Patty, they weren't quite as thick, and I'm not really sure exactly how tall Patty was, but not quite as thick. I'd say they were, if I had to guess, I'd say they were younger and a little leaner than Patty, and they both weren't the same size. One was a little bigger and one was smaller and leaner. And the smaller and leaner one, we did a recreation, and the smaller one was about 6 feet tall, so maybe 400 pounds, something like that. Very dark, all uniform color. So
that's, to me, I'm thinking that this is a kind of a regional appearance, because most of the people that I've talked to in Oklahoma that have had sightings have described the same thing. They're more leaner and gangly and very athletic. So that's what you're describing there. More like a runner or a bicycler compared to a heavyweight wrestler or something like that.
Right. And the sightings that we have had there as well, the majority of them do fit that description, with the exception of the one we call Old Gray. And Old Gray is at least 8 feet tall, maybe more, and very broad. Kathy saw that one, him or her, again last summer, walk through an opening at less than 50 yards, and we went down and recreated it, and it was a profile view. And the profile we measured from comparisons, the profile was about 4 feet thick. So middle of the chest to the back, about 4 feet. Very thick. So probably bigger than Patty, heavier than Patty, maybe a big male. I'm not sure, but very big.
So based on what you guys are getting a sense of the presence of these creatures, Area X, do you think you have a feel for how many individuals there might be?
Well, that's a good question. Now, last summer, or actually 2 summers ago, we had a sighting. One of the members of the group had a sighting of 4 juvenile individuals. They were definitely not infants, but they were small juveniles, about the size of a chimp. And they climbed down out of a tree and they took off running, and they were single file. And so they were all about the same size, and I would say probably about the same age. So they were about the size of chimpanzees, and they were going in a straight line, and as they were running off, and there were 4 of them, all about the same size. So if you speculate that they were single bursts, which double bursts are rarity, I guess, in chimpanzee and gorilla, then they had 4 mothers, so that's 4 children, 4 mothers, and they definitely weren't the ones that we saw run up the hill. One of them may have been a mother. Old gray, the big brown one, and how many in between? Well, you're at about 11 or so right there, and that's just what we've seen. So, I mean, it could be easily, I guess, speculated there could be 15, maybe more in that area.
Of how many square miles approximately?
Well, that's hard to say. Of course, we're on private property, and of course their range goes well beyond the private property. So they just guessing, they probably easily have 5 square miles easily within reach, and then again many more square miles than that, maybe 20 or 30 square miles that are easily accessible to them, if they follow the right terrain.
Okay. Would you agree that they're highly intelligent? And if so, then if Sasquatch is so smart, how come they don't have a sense that you're there to hurt them or kill them?
Well, yeah, I think that they are highly intelligent, but of course there are limitations, certainly. I mean, they're not using an ATM card, and they're not, getting a driver's license, and so
they are still an animal.
Well, they are still an animal, yes.
Are they a people,
absolutely.
or do you think they're more ape?
Oh, they are definitely more ape. No people that I have ever known, heard of, seen get to be this big, this massive, this agile, this powerful. Mm-hmm. If they were a people and they had the abilities that they had, we would all be dead. We're probably risking our lives going out there, and it upsets me a little bit. Say, oh well, yeah, you just kill one. All right, well, you want to help? You want to help Bigfoot? Yeah, I want to help. Well, what are you doing to help? Oh, I give him an apple. How the hell does that help anybody? And
it's closer now, and it's fucking big.
I jumped in this car like I was a little girl. She was scared. See, I'm not going out there. Dude, that's a f***ing Squatch.
Hot damn, I get to shoot something.
This could be anything. Let's go get it.
10, 9, 4, 8, 7, 6, 5, Oh my God.
Hoping for some action tonight.
I'm recording.